Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our little presentation slash workshop. Today, we're going to talk about the Department of Defense and their SBIR and STTR programs. Really just how does DoD approach these programs? What do you need to know? And how do you actually look through one of the topic areas? But to get us started, we're going to cover a little bit about the SBIR and STTR programs, just kind of a high-level overview. And then we're going to transition into what are the key differences you need to know about DoD, and particularly how they approach their SBIR and STTR programs. So for anyone that's not familiar with the SBIR and STTR programs, they really are considered, and this is actually part of the name now, America's Seed Fund. It is a way for the federal government to inject research and development dollars into small businesses that are trying to move an innovative idea to a commercial product. And that innovation and commercialization is something really important to focus on, because at the heart of it, that's what these programs are about. They're about innovative ideas, things that are unique, things that are different, things that have not been seen before, things that address a critical gap when people are talking about their pain points. Just really those things that, man, I wish this could be better, or God, my life sucks because I have to do this. And the commercialization, well, how do you make a product out of that? How do you make something you can sell to somebody? At the heart of it, how do you drive revenues for a business? Now, we always like to give a little bit of an overview here about there are some key things to know about these programs outside of, yes, the focus is innovation and commercialization, but there's a little bit of setup with them. These awards are to small businesses. So to participate in the programs, or I won't say participate because you can work with things like research institutions, universities, federal labs, but the awardee is always going to be a small business. The applicant is always going to be a small business. In fact, barring some weird circumstances, the bulk of the funding is always going to go to a business. And you have to be for-profit. You can't be a nonprofit organization. You have to be a for-profit business incorporated in the United States. Doesn't matter which state. And you have to be owned and majority controlled by US residents, individuals, naturalized citizens, things like that. So these are really about shaping let's call it the competitive landscape for businesses across the US. Now, the purpose of these programs, again, is to try and move from that idea to the marketplace. So really what you're starting out with in the beginning is a phase one is about that feasibility. I have this idea, man, I wish this could be better. If only I could do some testing, if only I could do some low-level development. And then if your phase one is successful, you go on to the phase two where you get more money, you get a little bit longer time period, and it is about kind of establishing that prototype. So I have this idea, I validated it, I showed that it's feasible. Let me start developing something. Let me start building something I can showcase. And then that phase three is all about, okay, well, I have this prototype, it's pretty much market ready. I can move forward. I can get this to the marketplace. What's going to be required to get this to the marketplace? Now, across the programs, there are a number of different agencies that participate. Of course, today we're talking about Department of Defense, but they're not the only ones out there. National Science Foundation, Department of Homeland Security, even the National Institutes of Health. No matter what you're working on, no matter what you're trying to develop, if it's innovative and has commercial potential, there's more than likely a fit for it within one of these agencies, because the agencies are really guided by, I have this as my focus. This is what we're about. And a lot of times it's in the name of the agency. Like National Institutes of Health, well, they want to launch health products. Department of Agriculture, They want to impact the food and agriculture situation in the US. What can you develop that you can eventually sell to somebody that will see that through to fruition? And it's really important to know too that a lot of times people will get too focused on an agency and kind of miss the forest for the trees. So, today we're talking about DoD, but DoD just isn't bullets, guns, missile systems. There's a lot of things that they also touch. There's a lot of areas that people don't think about. And we're going to talk about that here very shortly. But just to kind of keep things in mind as we move through today. So again, the SBIR and STTR programs are an excellent opportunity to go from that idea to market. They're a 3-phase program. Phase 1 is establishing feasibility. So it's a lot of research time, a lot of kind of man hours to do research to kind of flesh out that, is this possible? Can this be done? Is there some scientific validity that says, oh, yeah, sure, maybe. And because of that, it's smaller levels of funding, shorter time periods. And you move on to that phase 2, you get larger amounts of money, longer time periods, because you are trying to develop that market-ready prototype. And market-ready is key in there because it's not just held together with baling wire, duct tape, and a prayer. It's something that you could actually give to somebody. They can put it in their hands and go, okay, I see how this works. I see why I should be able to purchase this. And no matter what you're going to do, you're going to create a proposal package. No matter the agency, no matter the opportunity, no matter if you're going after a phase 1, a phase 2, an SBIR, an STTR, they're going to require some sort of proposal package with some sort of budget built into that. And there's going to be a waiting period. Anybody that has ever worked with the government knows that the government does move slow. So there's going to be some bureaucracy, there's going to be some reviews, there's going to be some contracting mechanisms to sign. It can take a while to get an award, but it can definitely be worth it. So why can it be worth it? Let's talk about Department of Defense just as an agency. So DoD approaches the SBIR and STTR programs a little bit different than most of the other agencies because they are a contracting agency. That means when you win an award from DoD, it's not a grant. Grants are open. It's your best effort. What can you do? Yeah, okay, this didn't pan out. So let's, get back up on that horse and try it again. Well, in a contract, you're trying to deliver something to them. So they're typically a little bit more stringent, but that's because DoD wants to buy things. They have problems. They realize they have problems. There are critical issues they need to solve. And they go, well, we can't build it. So let's farm this out to small businesses and see if they can come up with a solution for us. And again, kind of as we started off, DoD covers a lot of different areas. I mean, just think about it. DoD has a lot of warfighters. They have a lot of things like forward bases. They move a lot of product. So, things like logistics, things like healthcare, things like human interface systems. They got a lot of people sitting in front of computer systems trying to look at maps, trying to direct shipments, trying to do whatever it is they're doing in front of that computer. So they need better ways for people to engage with data. They need better ways for people to manage that data. DoD looks at a huge swath of different things because they have a lot of different departments under DoD. And even though DoD is a contracting agency, and even though they want to buy solutions, that isn't where commercialization ends with DoD. So whenever you're putting together your proposal package, you're talking about commercialization. Yes, defense, some agency within the Department of Defense is going to be your primary customer. They're going to be the ones you're building a solution for. But DoD wants to see, well, what else are you going to do? Where else are you going to push this? How else are you going to sell this? So even in the proposal, when you're talking about, this is my target, this is the, subdirectorate within DoD that's going to be interested in my solution, you have to think about the outside market. how am I going to change this? How am I going to strip off what they call green paint to get this into somebody else's hands, to get this into the outside market's hands? So when you're thinking of that commercialization, you have to think broader. You have to think, who else is this a fit for, and why is it a fit for them? Let's see, we have a question from the chat here. With contracting, would the IP still belong to the small business? So yes, the intellectual property still resides with the small business, but you have to exercise what they call data rights. Data rights are very convoluted. We would need an entire discussion session just about data rights. But if you option technical data rights, DoD will get a unrestricted license to actually utilize the information, but the IP is still with you. And if you want to find out more about data rights, we're going to talk about an event that's coming up next week where you can find out a whole lot more about data rights, IP, and what that means for, an award or a contract. Is GSA the purchasing agent for DoD? So when you look at the purchasing agents, each directorate within DoD, so the service components like Army, Air Force, Navy have their own purchasing agents. GSA a lot of times is a clearinghouse for things like phase 3 contracts. So they can be an option to get into the procurement cycle, but they're not going to be the purchasing agent. The actual agent for purchasing is going to be that, what they call service component. Okay, so DoD. DoD, again, they want to buy products that solve challenges that impacts their ability to perform their mission and the livelihood and lives of their warfighters. Now, when they're looking at that, they actually break out what they call into topic areas where they say, okay, well, we need these types of solutions. Here's the problem. Here's what it has to address. Here's how it needs to be set up. And that also makes DoD a little bit different when you're thinking about the agency, you're thinking about that phase 1, even that phase 2, is unlike a granting agency where you have to figure out your objectives, you have to figure out what you're going to do, you have to figure out the stages you're going to be at the end of that phase 1 and phase 2. DoD will actually give that information to you. They will kind of give you the minimum performance level that they're looking for with those awards. They'll spell out, these objectives must be reached during phase 1. This showcase must happen during a phase 2. Here's your, what they call SWAP, or size, weight, and power that this solution needs to operate in. Here's the environment that we need this deployed in. So it makes it a little bit easier when you're trying to think about what's my work plan, where do I want to be, where do I want to go? Because they give you a lot of that information because, again, they're a contractor. That's going to be your minimum requirements to be able, at the end of that time period, say, I delivered on this contract. I was successful. Now, when DoD releases those topics, they have kind of what they call 3 phases with that. They have the pre-release, which we're actually in right now. We're going to showcase some of the topic areas here in a little bit. And then they'll move into what they call the open period. And then once the open period is over with, it's closed. So during that open period is when you can submit a proposal package. When it's closed, you can't submit anything. They're not accepting anything. They just say, hey, come talk to us in about 3 months, because they have about 3 proposal cycles a year, typically opening in the schedule of January, May, and September, and closing in that February, July, and October. There's about a 30-day time period for all of these. Now, the thing you need to keep in mind with the pre-release is the pre-release is, excuse me, the pre-release period is the only time you can talk to what they call a Teapot, or a technical point of contact. And you can find out more about the problem they're trying to solve. What is the operational envelope that they're looking for? what are the things that they didn't list that could potentially impact your ability to deliver a solution? And it's very important to have those conversations during that pre-release period. It's really critical to actually reach out, because if you wait until the open period, you cannot directly contact those Teapots. You have to submit a question that will be viewable by everyone through their, they call it SITIS, SITIS, which stands for some acronym. Just keep that in mind. But if you wait until the open period to try and get your questions answered, one, you're going to wait longer for an answer. And then if they do answer it, and then two, your question is available to everybody to look at. So if you do have to wait till the open period to submit a question, don't put any proprietary information in there, because these are publicly viewable. Anybody in the world can see these. You don't even have to have a login for, they call it DSIP, Defense SBIR Innovation Platform. Anybody in the world can actually view what you submitted. But again, when they're releasing those topic areas, different service components within DoD are, think of them as the departments like Air Force, Army, Navy, MDA, which is Missile Defense Agency, the Space Administration that they launched relatively not a long time ago, DHA, Defense Health Administration, DLA, the logistics arm. So each one of those arms that has their own mission might have an SBIR or STTR topic where they say, we need this solved. We need this out in the, our capability. We need to procure solutions for this problem. And those individual service components might actually not follow what they call the typical BAA or broad agency announcement schedule, which is that January/May/September open period. So it's really important to sign up for any of those distributions, sign up for their newsletters, get informed about when those topics are open, about who is out there, who's looking at solutions, or sign up for our newsletter, because we post that information too. We want to make sure that people have the things that are critical for them to be able to win these opportunities. And for answering questions, for finding topics, for finding more information, for submitting your proposal packages, DoD does use that DSIP system. So that is their kind of clearinghouse for everything that you want to know about the opportunities. Even if it's one of these service components that's not following their typical schedule and just says, oh, we got this emergency thing that we need solved, you will find out about it on DSIP. Now, you might have to go to the Army SBIR site to find out more information, but you'll at least get a clue about it through DSIP. And with each solicitation, there can be multiple instruction packages that you need to be aware of, because if it is one of those that falls outside of the normal schedule, well, that service component might say, okay, well, instead of submitting a 15-page proposal to us, you're going to submit a 5-page, or instead of a 15-page proposal, it's a 25-page proposal. And these are the things we need you to cover. These are the sections. These are the headers you need to use. That information can differ between those individual service components. So DoD gets a little bit tricky in that area, in that one, service components can have different schedules. They can have different levels of funding. They have different periods of performance. They can want different things. Of course, they all have their own topics because they all have things that are important for them. And just how do I approach them? When can I approach them? Can vary greatly. So when you're looking at that DSIP platform, always keep that in mind, is if a service component that you're trying to answer to, if you're trying to answer a topic for, let's say, MDA, I think MDA uses the general ones, but we'll just go with it. Always know that, one, you have to see if they have their own instruction package, And two, you have to see what those requirements are. If they do have their own instruction package, the guidance they give in there trumps what's in the general instruction package. So you have to answer specifically towards their needs, specifically towards the information they want, and specifically towards the format of that information. I realize that is very confusing. It can be confusing to pull together a DoD proposal package, but we're going to talk about some assistance that is out there right towards the end of our presentation here. Now, I gave you a little bit of a acronym earlier that might have thrown people off when I said Teapot, that technical point of contact, because you may be thinking, well, why do I need to contact them? Why is it important to talk to them? So Teapots are actually the authors and managers for those topic areas that you find in the solicitation. They're the ones that really have the best understanding of the pain point, the best understanding of the problem, the best understanding of how solutions need to fit within the DoD landscape, of how you might need to change something to meet their size, weight, and power requirements. What are the transitions or kind of requirements for logistics? How does this need to be handled? What is the environment it's going to operate in? They are the wealth of knowledge for knowing what do you need to write towards, how do you need to format your solution, and what are those requirements that maybe nobody else thought of. And you go, okay, well, I see why they would need this. I might have to make some changes here. I might have to make some adjustments. And you won't know that unless you reach out and talk to them. Because during that pre-solicitation or that pre-release phase, you have that ability, you have that option. Send them an email, ask for a phone conversation, get to the heart of what do I need to know? How do I need to actually format this? What are those things that I need to do to improve my understanding of the requirements for this topic, of the requirements for the solution? It's not really going to be out there. They're going to give you information, and when we get into the topic areas a little bit later, you're going to see how they're written. And yeah, they'll give you some information, but there's always unintended consequences. There's stuff that people are going, well, yeah, everybody should know this, that maybe you don't know. So have that conversation, reach out and talk to them about it. Now, when you do talk to them, again, kind of just keep that a high level. You can't tell them exactly what you're creating. You can't get buy-off from them, but you can find out more. And that's really what you want to do. You want to treat it like the customer discovery process, where you're listening more than you're talking. You're finding out what's driving them. You're finding out why they need this solved. You're finding out all the, just house of dominoes that falls when you push on the one. Well, how can you buttress that domino so it doesn't fall over? That's the kind of information you want to find out. But when you are looking at DoD, one thing to keep in mind is that, we talked about how innovation and commercialization are the key facets of these programs, but it's important to know that innovation doesn't necessarily mean high tech. It doesn't mean that you're coming up with something that looks like it fell out of an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Low tech things can be innovative too. Just depends on how you're addressing the problem and the benefits that are come about by you fielding that solution. It's a really great example here. In 2011, DARPA, which is one of the service components under DoD, made 7 awards for a topic area, essentially making graphic novels or comics for PTSD patients. They realized that people were transitioning back. They didn't know how to integrate back into society. They'd been through a field of war. It was hard for them to just kind of get back to civilian life. So they funded 7 companies that said, well, we can make comics for that. We can make actually integrated storytelling. We can make these tools for these PTSD patients to actually get back into the flow of normal civilian life, to figure out how to interact with people again, to know that nobody's going to be taking pot shots at them as they're driving down the road. And they funded those because it was about that form, fit, and function, which DoD is very focused on when it comes to these programs. You have to convince them that you understand the base problem, that your product or your solution is going to address that problem, and that it can fit within their operational envelope. And you go, well, what's an operational envelope? Well, that's why you talk to those Teapots. How does it need to be created? You might have something that matches their requirements, but if it's a 50-pound part and the platform they're going to strap it onto only accepts 20 pounds, they're not going to buy it. They can't utilize it. So that's why it's so important to find out about that environment they're going to use stuff in, so that it does match that form, fit, and function. If you don't match their methodology or their ideas for form, fit, and function, you're probably not going to get an award. I would almost go to all the way to say that you're definitely not going to go get an award, but nah, things happen. You're probably not going to get an award. Let's just keep it at that. And when you're looking at that information, you're trying to figure out, what do I need to do? How do I need to structure this? It's really great to dig through references. So in the topic areas, they're going to give you references. They're going to give you citations. They're going to give you information that you can look up, cross-reference, and use that in your proposal just to show, yeah, I understand the problem. I understand exactly how this happens. Here's how this happens. Here's this person that said it happens this way, which I agree with because of this reason. They want to know that they're not just making an award to somebody that may be able to say, yeah, sure, I can make something, but I'm not going to pay attention to why you need this made, or I'm not going to pay attention to how you need this made. It's really important to link to those references just to show, yes, I understand, I'm listening, I get what you're saying, here's how I can be of assistance to you. Now, before we go off into kind of going through the topic areas, one thing to keep in mind with the topic areas. So yes, topic areas are released with their pre-solicitation. It says, this is what we want. These are the kind of solutions we need. This is the problem we have. And once that topic area goes away, then, or it's closed, then you can't submit to that topic area anymore. They say, nope, we're no longer looking at solutions for this, better luck next time. But it's still a really great idea to dig through their archive of past topic areas, see what they've looked at, see where their head was at, see why they were looking at, those particular types of solutions. And the reason you do that is, yes, the likelihood of them reestablishing that topic area and listing it again is low, but you never know what happened with that. Did they even make an award under that topic area? Did that award work out? Did whoever that awardee was actually deliver a solution to them? Maybe it didn't happen. So look through those topic areas, the closed ones, and see if there's something that fits what you're creating. See if there's something that fits your idea. And if it's during the pre-release, reach out to those Teapots that were listed there. Maybe they are still looking for solutions, but it's just not an active topic. That can set you up for a really great source of procurement in the future, where they say, okay, well, this person's creating something that fits something we couldn't get addressed before. Let's actually push this and get this relisted. Or let's modify something that we already have and see if that can actually work for us as well. You want to always take as many opportunities as you can to find out more about where their head is, what they're looking for, and the problems they face, because that opens better opportunities in the future for you to get into what they call their procurement lifecycle, which is essentially them flagging your business and saying, we can directly buy stuff from them. We don't have to list this anymore. They have solutions they can deliver. They have delivered in this way. Because that sole source awarding, can be very beneficial to a business. You're not competing with the Raytheons and Lockheeds of the world at that point. They don't have to list something for open compete if they can go, well, this company already sells something like this. We can actually buy this directly from them and it meets our requirements. Now, I'd be remiss if we didn't cover a little bit about, just some proposal best practices, because again, you have to put together a proposal package for these. There's going to be a process for doing this. And when you're looking at those proposal packages, just a couple things to keep in mind. No matter the length of the proposal, no matter the requirements of the proposal, it's always a great idea to plan before you write. You don't have to go deep, just have that great outline, that general flow of how I'm going to tell the, story. And here we don't mean story as in, fantasy, Lady of the Lake, King Arthur, all of that. Story is just how you're presenting information to them and making sure that there are logical conclusions that flow between the different sections. If you make a huge leap in logic, it's just like if you're sitting there reading a book. I'm reading a book and there was a huge leap between chapter 1 and 2. I done fell off that turnip truck when it took that hard right turn, and it's hard to get back up on that. Think of that same way. If you're giving somebody something that's 15 pages long and it's just a slog to get through, it's just confusing. They don't know where stuff is. They have to search for it. They're probably not going to read it. And same goes with these, is when you're going through that review, when you're putting together that information, when they're trying to find out if you can actually deliver something to them, the harder you make it to read, the worse it's going to be for you. And along those same lines, when you're trying to make it easy to read, you're trying to make it easy to understand, a really key factor is having good imagery. If you already have an idea about what it's going to look like, well, show it to them. If you already know the workflow that's going to have to happen and all the different elements, well, show that to them. Give them a picture. Give them something they can digest. Give them some information that they're not going to have to string sentences or paragraphs into to understand. They always say that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and it is really true. If you think about it, you can write 2 pages of text describing your work schedule and what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, why you're going to do it. And maybe they'll understand it at the end. Or you can take that 1 page and actually create a chart for them, showing them what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, why you're going to do it. And then the idea in their head, the picture that comes up when they're reading through it is the same exact one because you gave them that picture. So kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at, is this a process I want to get through? Is this something I want to do? The more visual elements, the better, because it gives them something they don't have to interpret, because interpretation is one of the worst things you can leave in these proposal packages, because you never know how somebody's going to interpret that information. But specifically for DoD, what do those proposal packages look like? Well, again, different service components are going to have different, requirements. They're going to have different amounts of pages you can take. They're going to want different things, but at the heart of it, you're going to have the objectives, which DoD gives you. You just have to explain how you're going to reach those objectives. You'll have a little bit of a commercial plan for how am I going to push this outside of my defense customer. And you're really going to dive down into the work plan, because these are contract opportunities. DoD wants to know exactly what you're going to do, why you're going to do it, how you're going to do it, how you're going to validate those results. When you're looking at a DoD proposal package, that work plan is a huge portion of it. Even in the instructions, they say that this work plan should be a substantial portion of your technical narrative. And substantial portion, that's a really wiggle room way for them to say, yeah, this should be the majority of what you give us, because they want a lot of detail in that work plan. They want to know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, where you're going to do it, why you're going to do it, who's going to do it. It's that really just kind of walkthrough of, this is the task I'm going to undertake. This is why I'm going to undertake this task. This is the resources I need to tap into that I already have at bat for this task. If I don't have that resource, this is how I'm going to procure that resource. Think of it like the scientific method. You know, you have that problem statement, you have your hypothesis, and then you have, I did this experiment, here's exactly how I did this experiment. Your work plan is going to be down to that level where you're going to walk them through exactly what you want to do. And as always, you're going to have a budget too. And for DoD, it's going to be a pretty thorough breakdown. It's not as intense as some of the other agencies, but they're going to want to know, we're going to give you, let's say, $250,000 during this phase one. How are you going to account for every penny for this? Actually, you have to round to whole dollars. So how are you going to account for every dollar in this award? Where's this money going to go? How are you going to spend it? Are you going to buy that? Why do you need that? Be ready to provide justification for all of those costs, just saying, I need 400 hours of this person's time to do this because they have this expertise. This is what they make an hour. I need to purchase these types of materials because I need to do some testing to make sure that it's not going to buckle under 1500 PSI or whatever your requirements are. You have to show them how you're going to use that money and why your usage of that money is going to be impactful for you being able to launch a solution for them. And for the process, this is just a really great kind of high-level overview of how the DoD proposal process works, where you determine your eligibility. Again, are you eligible for the SBIR and STTR programs? Do you match their requirements? Complete your registrations, because these are funding opportunities. There's always going to be registrations. The good news is these are free and online. Most of them don't take a while. Your SAM registration is going to take a little bit because it gets down into things like ACH transfer for your bank, because if they give you an award, they're just going to start, dropping money. And then again, looking at those topics. So what's my fit? Is this something I can actually answer towards? Contact that Teapot. Very, very critical. You always want to talk to those people that came up with that topic to find out more. And then start putting together the information. You're going to have a proposal cover sheet, which is essentially a one-pager that's a summary of what you're going to do. You're going to have that technical volume, which again covers a bunch of different sections between service components. Some sections may be left out. You may have some more pages to dedicate towards those sections, but you're going to cover a couple of things. How am I going to speak towards your objectives? How does my solution actually solve your problem? And why should you fund this? Why should you be interested in this? Where can I go with this? And then there's a couple other things that they call like different volumes. You have a cost volume, you have a company commercialization report. These are all online forms you're going to fill out. And things like letters of support. So why is this a good solution? Have you already talked to someone within the Department of Defense that might actually purchase this? Have they said they want this? And then you want to review. So you want to actually do internal review and you want to do external review. Send this to somebody that knows nothing about what you're doing, knows nothing about what you're creating. Do they think it's a good idea? Do they think that it's worth funding? If so, then, hey, you have a really great shot probably of getting funded. And then you want to submit. Don't wait till the last minute. Particularly the DSIP platform is known to go down at very inconvenient times. And if it goes down, a lot of times they just say, well, you should have submitted sooner. So that's why you don't wait till the last minute. Always try to submit at least 2 days before the solicitation closes, because then you know where everything's at, you know that you got everything in, you're not scrambling at the last minute, you're not giving yourself an ulcer. Give yourself those couple of days. And a really great way to kind of line that up is to, build like a reverse calendar. you know what's required, you know when to, you know how long you need to actually create something. And this is just an example. We're going to send these slides out, so feel free to beg, borrow, and steal from the information. But it's just a way for you to know where you're at in your project, at what stage, at what point. So let's actually look at a topic now. And let me look at some questions here. Water contamination, we have a solution to fix this problem. That might be something we can try and connect you for the Navy base in Hawaii. Our email addresses will be at the end of this presentation. Send us an email. We'll see if we know somebody or can connect you to somebody. Do all agencies require a 1 to 2 page brief? And do we submit this to the Teapot before the full proposal? So most of them don't require a brief, but it's a really great idea if you're going to have a conversation with a TPOC or with any of the program managers from any agency, to just send them a quick 1-pager beforehand. That way they're not trying to figure out what you're talking about over the phone or through, email traffic. When you have that conversation with them, they have something to refer back to. They can already do some reading up on it before you have that conversation. It's not really a requirement, it's just a really great best practice. But diving through the DoD topics. So again, DoD uses DSIP. You can look at all of their topic areas there, and the platform is actually pretty good. You can filter by service component, you can filter by the technology area, you can filter by their priorities, and you can also, again, look at those closed topics. So you don't just have to look at the open ones. I mean, the closed topics go back all the way till, well, they started DSIP. So you have like 10 years of topics at least to look through. And it's a great way to kind of put in a keyword and know, okay, well, I'm developing, a better logistics system, or I'm developing heads-up displays, and see, is there anybody that has said anything about wanting a heads-up display, wanting something for data analytics? Because the old way used to be to dig through a multi-100-page PDF every single time. This has streamlined it a lot better. It makes it very easy to know exactly what they're looking for, why they're looking for it, and how you can address it. So what's in the topic area for DoD? There's a couple pieces of information that are really critical for you. One is, again, the TPOC. So that TPOC is going to be that person that you want to talk to. And in the DSIP system, it actually has a 1-click button for you to email that TPOC. So you can directly connect with them. You can let them know, hey, I'm interested in this. Can we have a conversation? Can we talk about this? You don't have to try and copy, paste, hope you got the email right. It'll go directly to their inbox by using that 1-click button. And then they'll have the technology area. So what does that topic area cross? What is that problem related to? Is it a human interface system? Is it a fuel storage system? What is that? If I had to describe this in one word, what would that be? That's what those technology areas are about. Then I'll have the modernization priorities. So what does this fall under? Everybody wants to modernize what they do, how they operate, where they go, how they grow, and DoD is no exception. It gives a really great idea of what's going to happen with this. What is their, operational priority here? How does this need to be given to somebody? That's what those modernization priorities speak to, because they show, where is this going to go in the future? Why is this part of our roadmap for where we want to be 5, 10, 15 years down the road? And then the keywords around the topic, again, those are those things that flag. If you were doing an Amazon product search, what would you put in to get, active noise canceling headphones? That's what those keywords actually speak towards. And then the additional documents and resources, That's going to be those reference links. Those are going to be those papers that have been developed within DoD. Those are going to be those presentations on this is why this is a problem for us. Those are going to be those, hey, somebody out there did research around how this can be addressed. We really need to pay attention to this. That is your wealth of information for how you address kind of the data that's required in your proposal. So that's why it's very key to look at these references, look at these documents, pull all of the information together. And then they'll give you the objectives. Again, that's what you're going to shoot for. That's your ultimate goal for the phase 1 and phase 2. And then a description, that's usually the, okay, this is very long and very, technically dense, but it lets me know, why is this a problem? What type of solutions are they looking for? How does this need to be addressed? And then the phases. So during those different phases, what do you need to do? In phase 1, they will actually break down, this is what should happen during the phase 1. This is where we want people to be. This is what we want to see at the end of the phase 1. Phase 2, this is what's going to happen. This is the information that we want out of a phase 2. This is what ultimately we want you to be able to deliver us at the end of this time period. So again, because DoD is a contracting agency, they give you a lot of the information that you just have to sit there and think about and scratch your head and go, man, what am I going to do? How am I going to show this? How am I going to establish feasibility? Well, they give that to you. You just kind of start to check off those boxes as you develop your work plan. Now, this is all theoretical information to people. You go, okay, well, what does this actually look like? So here are a couple of topic areas that are currently open with DoD. And these aren't the full topic areas. I just kind of pulled out the information that was very important for people to know. The topic areas, if you printed these out, there would be a page or two of text themselves. So this is just this is what you need to pay attention to as you're going through these. And yes, we will be sending out the slides and the recording after this. So first is the kind of topic number. So you can see here it's SOCOM 221-001. That means that SOCOM is the service component, whatever SOCOM stands for that I cannot remember at the moment. Like MDA, Missile Defense Agency, will be MDA 221-number. None of the numbers are anything you really need to pay attention to. That's just their internal coding. But those first few letters are going to tell you which of the service components is this being put out by. And then you have the topic title. So that just says, hey, this is what we want. This is where we need to go. The technology area, here, it really deals with an electronic system. So if you're going to answer towards their needs, it better be an electronic system and it better be a sensor system, because that's what they've decided that they're looking for. Modernization priorities, that control of communications just tells you what bucket this falls under. And network command, that tells you that this is going to be something that is an IoT enabled. So Internet of Things is going to be either digitally distributed, or it has to be able to connect over an ad hoc network. It's going to involve network communications in some fashion. And then, your keywords, again, if you were trying to buy something off of Amazon or, doing a Google for who has products like this I could buy, what would you put into that search to get your results? So that tells you that, they want low probability of detection. So this needs to be a sneaky system. It has to be ultra secure, so it can't be penetrated. You better have some white hat methodologies put behind it so you know that nobody can break into it. And then it gives you that objective. Again, that objective is what you're going to need to be able to do. So for the objective, they want people to develop applied research towards an innovative capability to develop low swap, again, size, weight, and power is what SWAP stands for. Tactical, ultra-secure communication systems to allow operators to communicate safely in modern contested environments. So what does that actually mean? Well, that means that the end of this, they want something that is a capability to do these things. this is ultimately what you have to be able to deliver to them at the end of that phase 2, after that cycle has run for SBIR, STTR direct funding. And then again, those phases followed right below the objective where they go, okay, phase 1, this is what you need to be able to do. This is what you have to deliver to us. This is what we want you to be able to show us. So you see here in a phase 2, you're doing a feasibility study. You're trying to see what is possible in the current state of the art and the things that are out there that might actually address this right now. I mean, they want you to document the results of that study, and they want you to investigate what is possible based on that study. Just given the current trade space, knowing what the options are, knowing how things need to be able to meet that specification and that parameter. So now you know exactly what you're going to have to do during a phase 1. Now you know what that work plan is going to look like. Everything in that work plan needs to speak towards what they're looking for that statement of work for a phase 1. And that statement of work is going to be pulled right out of this topic area because they gave that to you. You know where you're going to have to go. You know what you're going to have to do, and you know how to approach it. We'll go through a couple more here. OSD, that's the Office of Science for Defense. They're looking for environmental security risk forecasting. So they want artificial intelligence. They want machine learning. They want things that can forecast fires. You're going to be developing computer models for them. So if you can't develop a computer model that can show forecasting for these risks, you're not going to be able to answer adequately to this topic. No matter what you write, if you're not writing towards that and showing them exactly how you can answer those needs, you might as well not put together a proposal package because it's not going to be funded. This, again, establishes what they're looking for, the information you put in, how you talk about your potential solution, and how you talk about how you can save their, answer their objectives, kind of save their butts. You go, you got this problem, man, I got something for you. You said you're looking for this. Here's exactly how I can do that. So again, that phase 1, they give you what they want. You're going to identify 2 geographical regions where you can actually do this forecasting. You can show this wildfire-related damage or destruction. And you're going to do an analysis on the sensing data from there. So what could have told you in those sensors, what could have told you in that data flow that this is a high risk for a wildfire? This is actually going to break out. And then you're going to show, well, how can I actually answer that? What do I know from those tags? What do I know from those fields? What can I develop that can look at that and say, there could be a problem here. You might want to go out and spray retardant foam because this thing's about to go up like, hay in a loft. This does really break down in these topic areas exactly how to write to make your proposal compelling, because compelling is what they're looking for. Do you really understand the problem? Do you understand exactly what they want? Can you speak towards that need? Can you develop a solution around this? So for each of their topic areas that are in the pre-release, they're going to give you this level of information. They're going to give you this level of data. Exactly what are they looking for? What is the priority here? What is the focus here? What do you need to be able to do? What do you have to be able to show during that, phase 1 or phase 2? Where do you need to be at the end of that time period? What do you need to be able to hand off to them and say, I did it, I want the rest of my funding? And each one of these is going to have that level of detail. So for DoD, these topic areas are really kind of your Bible that you're writing towards. They are your rubric. Know what you have to do, know where they're looking, know where their head is at, and how you have to approach that information. As you can see here, each one of these dives very deeply into this. They give you everything you need within these topic areas. So when you're looking at these topic areas, kind of keep that in mind as I need to understand this. I need to actually even sometimes pull data, pull information, pull wording directly from these topic areas and put it in my proposal. Show them that, yes, I understand this. Yes, I've seen how you need this. Yes, I know exactly what I need to be able to do. This is just, I guess I can't figure out a better way to state it than right towards these. Pull this information together. You know, beg, borrow, and steal from the data that's in these to be able to know that, okay, if I don't have this information, I'm not going to get funded. And I realize that a lot of this seems like, oh man, there's these weird processes. I don't know how to go through it. I'm not understanding, you know, these topics. This just seems like a lot of work. Well, there is assistance out there, which of course is our NMFAST program. So we're funded by SBA to actually help businesses go after these opportunities, and no matter the agency. So yeah, we're doing a DoD topics, you know, information and, you know, DoD SBIR and STTR programs here, but we have tools, we have resources, we have assistance for any of those 12 different agencies. And sometimes those resources are things like, you know, a workshop like this or an information session. Sometimes they're videos. Sometimes they're things like compliance matrices. We have that available for everybody, no matter the agency, and you can see them on our website. We do a lot of this stuff just because we want to see businesses across New Mexico grow, be able to get to market, be able to have an economic impact in our state. That's what Arrowhead Center is all about. So we offer all these tools, resources, they're totally for free. And then, you know, one of the things we also do is put on events, and events like our upcoming, which is next Wednesday, SBIR and STTR Innovation Summit. So this is a free event. It's totally online. Again, you'll be able to click the links in here to be taken directly to registration. But one thing that's important about this event is that we actually will have DoD agency reps here, and you can schedule a one-on-one session to talk with them, talk with those Teapots. Some of them will be at this event. You can schedule a session with them, meet with them virtually, you know, kind of face-to-face through video camera and audio systems. And you can find out, again, more about that. Why did you put this topic area out there? You know, how does this need to actually integrate into your operations? What does this solution need to be able to do? We'll also have an expo hall with other support organizations from other states. We will have other agencies that will be represented, not just DoD. So NSF, DOE, NASA, NIH are also going to be there. They're going to have reps to meet with you, talk one-on-one. And again, this is totally free and virtual. And it's not just a, well, I'm going to go to this thing and I'm going to meet somebody, I'm going to talk to them about something, and then that's it. We'll also have panel sessions. So talking about the SBIR and STTR programs. As we talked about earlier, doing a panel session just about data rights and how those impact intellectual property protections. What do you need to know about those? One on third-party investment. So how do I approach venture capitalists? How do I get funding for my idea outside of these programs? It's really just an all-day, meet with people, talk to them, you know, find out more about how their agency operates, and then find out more about these programs. Because again, these programs are a really great opportunity to grow your business and get to the marketplace. So that's going to end our presentation today. This was recorded. The recording hopefully will go up tonight. I will send an email out to everybody with the slides and the recording so that you can access this information again.